Please have your seat. Thank you.
In order to speak, I will have to remove my mask. Dear presidents and representatives of the national federations, dear colleagues from the United World Wrestling Bureau, dear members of the wrestling family, dear guests and friends, I'm glad and honored to see all of you today, whether it is online or on site. I would have certainly preferred seeing all of you here in Belgrade, but the circumstances don't allow us to meet in normal conditions. Before I continue, I would like you to join me and stand up for a minute of silence in memory of all the victims of the pandemic, but also in memory of our friends and colleagues who left us this year. Please stand up. Thank you for your attention. The world is going through a difficult time. Our everyday lives and activities have been totally disrupted by the COVID-19 since the beginning of the year, and we are trying our best all together to cope with this new reality. During this year, we had to change and adapt. But this is not our first time. 7 years ago, when we saved Olympic wrestling, I was standing some like this in front of you, telling you that we need to remember that the day as the day we need to start to change our sport, to change the way we organize our competitions, to change the way we work or think, all this in order to remain a member of the Olympic family. But most of all, to keep the sporting spirit of all wrestlers stronger than ever. Many years later, due to some other unpredictable circumstances, you are in the similar position again, but with the same mission. And we wouldn't be here today without solidarity, uniting us together. I would like you to imagine the wrestling tomorrow, in a month or in 10 years from now. Perhaps we will still be living and working in a so-called new reality. But I strongly believe that then every kid all over the world will be watching World Cups, World and Continental Championships, or Olympic Games, and thinking somewhere deep inside, what is that feeling on the mat? And we must enable the same opportunity to each and every one of them to try and to succeed. That is the dream of solidarity. That is the dream that leads us these 7 years. And with the same dream, I'm standing here today in Belgrade in front of all of you. Strength defines wrestling. Not only physical strength, but the willpower. So let us be strong here today and wise enough to consistently continue our road to Tokyo Olympic Games. This opportunity is something we will remember our entire lives, and it wouldn't be possible without each and every one of you and members of your teams, not only listening, but feeling what I am speaking about. So I once again deeply thank you for all standing next to me and not only making this event possible, but for making wrestling grow to Tokyo more determined than ever. There are 3 dates that the history of wrestling will certainly never forget. The first one was the 29th of May, 2013, in St. Petersburg, when wrestling survived the first round in its bid to win reinstatement as an Olympic sport. Then the next one was the 8th of September, 2013, the day when the International Olympic Committee full session elected wrestling as an additional sport for the Summer Olympic Games of 2020 and 2024. In the meantime, the Olympic Charter has been changed and wrestling remains, in 2014, wrestling remains as a core sport of the Olympic Games. And the third date was the 13th of November, 2020, when United World Wrestling announced the Individual World Cup as an adaptation to the pandemic situation and a big comeback to the mat. Today is also the day we need to make a progress, to be strong and passionate and determine our future by protecting not only the wrestling spirit, but among all, protecting the health of every athlete and every participant in our competitions. And even when this conference ends, when we leave this room or you shut down your laptops, it has to be done with the same idea. The route of wrestling leads us all directly to Tokyo. During the year that it is approaching to its end, all we have heard about numbers. We could hear only people from TV, newspapers, radio telling us numbers of COVID-19 infected, numbers of those who are hospitalized, unfortunately, tragical numbers of those who lost the battle against the virus, numbers of days we need to spend in a quarantine, or numbers of countries who are under a complete lockdown. And yet, here we are, proving that our sport stands strong even when it seems that everything else, everywhere around us, is falling apart. That is why we are all here today, because we are fighters. We fight to win this battle against COVID-19 so that next year at the official Congress, I may hopefully stand exactly like this in front of you, telling you the story about the numbers, but this time different numbers. Numbers of our athletes qualified for the Olympic Games in Tokyo. Many hard decisions have been made. Many other are yet to come. But in situations like this, I always remember that one sentence that I've told you at the FILA Extraordinary Congress in Moscow in May 2013. We need to save wrestling in the Olympic Games. As mentioned before, the pandemic has had impacts on our sport, on all national federations, and on our administration. But a lot of work has been done. This conference and my address to you today is also to report on the activities in 2019 and 20, and it may be exactly the right time to remember some of the goals we have reached together in the meantime. Without going into too much detail, the work has continued in 2019 for the improvement of our sport and our competitions. Our technical commission met several times in 2019 in coordination with the sports department. This work is ongoing, but a milestone was marked in 2015. And I thank all organizers in all continents for their involvement in making our sport attractive while providing the best possible conditions for the wrestlers. Other important decisions were taken by the board in the same direction. Blockchain technology was introduced to preserve the integrity of the draw, for example. A new competition manager was hired to help organizers delivering high-quality events ahead of the competition with inspection visit and during the event. Looking towards the future of our events, the board also approved a new World Cup format. Looking towards youth, the 2022 Youth Olympic Games program was approved by the board and by the IOC. Then those same Youth Olympic Games were postponed due to COVID to 2026. And then, as my colleagues prepared me a speech, I have to get out of their program a little bit to make some explanations. You have heard, there was a lot of misinterpretation about the program, but all these things are very much linked. For example, we heard criticism why the board decided to alternate different styles of wrestling in Youth Olympic Games. Then, parallelly, the program commission of the IOC was reviewing for already 6 months the program for 24 in Paris. The result of the work, which was adopted by the executive board of the IOC, is that the number of athletes in Paris will be absolutely limited to 10,500. And there will be a full gender balance, 50% to 50%. And there is no chance to get out of this frame. And you all know, when it is about our sport, that we have the worst ratio of men and women competing on the games. Now, I want to remind you, Youth Olympic Games 2018, where wrestling was performed by more girls than boys. At that moment, we were the international federation who gave the opportunity to the IOC to reach that gender balance of 50-50. In the meantime, when the IOC reached that same balance for Paris, we are the federation with the worst ratio, but no matter. They have kept all our styles and all our participants, like was in Rio, would be in Tokyo, and would be in Paris. Our decisions and the decisions of the IOC are very much linked. As you can see, this is a strategy. And we adopted, with my colleagues, a very good strategy. But what is in front of us is to work in order to have full gender balance, because that has to be achieved sooner or later. We made a good service to the IOC in 2018. Now the IOC is doing the same with our sport for Paris. This is why we introduced beach wrestling for Youth Olympic Games in Dakar, which unfortunately have been postponed. Unfortunately, the COVID reality led Paris organizers to absolutely limit the number of participants. And what we did, it was exactly to preserve all our styles in an equal way, but to try to have more participation from women in beach wrestling in order to achieve that absolute gender balance. And Senegal Dakar 2026 is an opportunity for that, to showcase our discipline in order to have a full gender without touching our existing categories and styles for LA 2028. There is a lot of work in front of us for this. The visibility of our sport was highly improved, especially our presence in the social media. We have witnessed a growing number of followers on our different platforms, and record figures were reached during the Asian Championships 2019. We must not forget beach wrestling and the World Series inaugural season in 2019, as well as the highly successful featuring of beach wrestling at the Enoch Beach Games at the end of the year. Also, associated styles must not be forgotten, and the great work of our office in Istanbul to unify and grow these styles. 2019 was also a year of gatherings on important matters such as gender equality, with the holding of the second Women's Forum in November in Istanbul, or the protection of our athletes' health with the holding of the World Wrestling Medicine Conference in Budapest. That same year, 2019, was also the year where the collaboration with the International Testing Agency began, with a new step forward for the protection of clean wrestlers and for the protection of the integrity of our competitions. Among others, the most important competition was the World Championships in Nur-Sultan 2019, which marked the first step of the qualifying process for the Tokyo Games. In 2020, of course, our work has been slowed down, but the constant improvement of everyone was showed by the high rate of participation in the webinars for coaches, referees, administrators, etc. This year, the Bureau and Executive Board's decisions, but also other institutions such as the IOC and other international federations have mainly been adapting on a day-to-day basis to the development of the pandemic. I want to use this opportunity to thank my colleagues from the Bureau and the Executive Board and all of you for your contributions and providing us with informations. And really, I was very hard pushing my colleagues, and we had sometimes daily meetings of the Bureau. The decisions were made day by day according to the situations. I'm very grateful, really, to the Bureau members for the work they delivered this year. But we must continue this work of adaptation for the important year ahead of us and for the Olympic Games in Tokyo. Our wrestlers are among the bravest athletes in the world. We are standing here proud of what we have reached until now and ready to continue wrestling with every obstacle that life puts in front of us and our sport. We will sanitize our hands dozens of times per day, but the most important thing is that our hearts and our intentions will stay pure. We will wear masks all the time, but the voice of wrestling will be louder than ever. We will keep the social distance between ourselves, but still be closer than ever. And in a deeper sense, we shall overcome all the challenges that lie ahead. Think about it. Haven't we already accomplished it in a certain way? Let's make as an example all the virtual meetings we've been organizing last month. We have been mostly working from home, being online from our living rooms, kitchens, terraces. Haven't we already made a small part of our homes a part of United World Wrestling? Those haven't been only working meetings. Those were family gatherings. And when family finds itself in front of a problem, what does it do? It becomes united and stronger than ever. And that is exactly what we have done. As this challenging year approaches to its end, I'm convinced that besides all the difficulties it brought to the entire world, it also reminded all of us one very special virtue and its value. It is the value of solidarity. Only standing united and solidary, we have managed to continue forward to our mission to ensure wrestlers' dreams are fulfilled in Tokyo next year. During the pandemic, we have launched the campaign, We Will Wrestle Again. And exactly that solidarity and that willingness is something that wrestling family is known for, and which made our athletes all around the world ensured that we will never give up, even when all the aspects of our lives are endangered. And here we are today, many months later, and with determination, perseverance, and solidarity, I can say, we are wrestling again. Seeing that we are all together, looking in the same direction, as always, seeing us all next to the mat again and feeling that wrestling spirit is in the air again, makes me being ever more proud and grateful for working and fighting for our sport with each and every one of you. Olympic flame will burn as always, and will be the light at the end of this tunnel. Olympic Games will go ahead, and I'm sure that we will all together wrestle COVID-19 down. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, President, for that speech. We will now move to the next topic of this conference, and we will have some presentations from the department's directors. But first, let's watch a video that's been prepared for that topic. So let's continue the agenda of today's conference. The first speaker after Mr. Lalovic will be our sports director, Mr. Jean-Daniel. Jean-Daniel Rey, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Carlos. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening maybe for some of you. It's a pleasure to see you online today. Let me share my presentation, which will provide you a complete overview of what we did during these last 2 years. So I would like to start by speaking a little bit about the department. We hired new people since these 2 last years. I will just go quickly on the people that you might already know. It's Tristan Morar, my colleague at the office. I'm sure that you received many emails from him, but I also think that you received more update about webinars that we organized this year during this sensitive time. We also have Ramil. Maybe most of you know him, our senior competition manager. So Ramil, he is in charge to be the direct link between United All Wrestling and the organizers. Also, we remarked that for our main events, we clearly need one dedicated person at the call room. That's why we hired Nicolas Leon for our main events. He is also responsible to support the security team from the organizing committee. Again, what Mr. Lalovic said, we hired a new competition manager for the youth age competitions. She will be also in charge of helping the organizer on site. Mrs. Menel, she worked during the last European Games, so she will help every organizer in the future. With this, I don't want to forget the Associated Style office in Istanbul. They worked a lot with all the associated styles like grappling, pancration, but also the traditional styles. So we don't have a lot of time, so I cannot explain you everything that they did these 2 years, but I also would like to thank them for their great support. Also part of all the work, I wanted to underline the collaboration between the departments. So with the IT departments, development departments, communication departments, there is a lot of exchanges during the years to coordinate all the projects that we have. I also take this opportunity to underline the huge work done by the commissions. We worked a lot with the technical commission, the beach wrestling committee, and also the refereeing commission. So the last bubble in that slide is about the sport presentation. I wanted to underline that aspect because these last 2 years, we did a big work on that topic. So that's the content of my next slide. Let me change it. So yes, as you saw during 2017, we made a huge effort for the sport presentation. We worked now with an external company who helping us a lot during the last 2 senior world championship in Budapest, but also in Nur-Sultan. I just want to underline that we don't want to take the work of the organizing committee. They also have their input on the sport presentation, but it's just to provide consistency, but also to respect all the guidelines that we put in place for the sport presentation. If you can read in the bullet points that I wanted to underline, we made a lot of efforts for the entertainment at the venue. With the work with my colleague Sebastien, IT director, we wanted to provide more clarity for the spectators. So we produced new brackets at the venue on the big screens. Then everybody can follow the competition more easily than it was in the past. Also, one big topic was the presentation of the athletes. We worked a lot also with my colleague to make a really good presentation of the athletes. For some of them, it's only one time on their life that they will be able to compete in a final for gold medal. So we wanted to underline that also more than it was done in the past. Again, so just to, if I have to summarize that, it's just to have consistency across all our big events. We also produce many guidelines and documents with the sports promotion team that each organizer can already use. So during these 2 last years, if I have to speak about the format of our competition, you also remark that we include a 2-day format for our main events. I don't want to go into a lot of details with that, but the main ideas behind this change was to provide more rest for the athletes, to let them breathe a little bit and be powerful for the final the next day. We also had the opportunity with this 2-day format to underline more the semi-final matches. So now we can have the semi-finals in the evening session. So that's much more important for us, and we can also share that to our TV broadcasters if they want to showcase the semi-finals. Again, it's also to promote the events. I will not touch on that because I'm sure that my colleague Gordon will also speak about it, but we can also more promote the finals if we have a 2-day format for our main events. Another point really important that we changed these last years is the weigh-in the morning of the competition. So the bureau members wanted to reduce the risk of cutting weight for the athletes. That's why the weigh-in was fixed in the morning of the competition. We had many discussion and work with the medical commission about this important topic. We also improved the registration process, but also the accreditation system. I know that it's painful for everyone to respect these deadlines, but it was just to help the organizers to be ready, to know like how many people will come, how long, be able to manage the transportation, to prepare the meals. So that's why we wanted to have like a clear registration process, but also a clear accreditation system. We also work with our IT department about the new draw technology. Sebastien will touch on that later. So we remark that some small teams doesn't have enough time during the day to attend the draw and also stay with the athletes during the competition. So we try to find a fair and a quick solution for the draw. About the 3D drawing, that was one other big project these last 2 years. You can see on this presentation behind the text. I'm quite proud to announce you that we just finished this 3D drawing document. It will be available for every organizers in the coming weeks. So we think that it's a really good tool for the organizers. You will be able to see everything, what has to be in the field of play, all the measurements, all the equipment. So it will provide you more information about how a United Wrestling events is organized. And I don't want to finish this slide without speaking a little bit about the ranking series and the Beach Wrestling World Series. Our president already spoke about it, but we also wanted to put the athletes in the center of the story. That's why with the big work of the technical commission and his president, Mr. Mamashvili, we decided to organize a ranking series with several events during the year, just to be able to tell stories about the athletes, but also to award the best athletes of the year at the end of each year. About beach wrestling, Mr. Lalovic already spoke about it. It's one of our big projects for the next years also. He underlined the fact that we will be part of the next Youth Olympic Games. That's why we will continue to grow that sport. With the Beach Wrestling Committee, we implemented a Beach Wrestling World Series. It's several events spread during the summer. With this sensitive time, it was quite difficult to organize it this year, but we will do it next year, and I really hope that a lot of your federation will support these events and register a team there. About my last slide. So I wanted also to inform you that we collaborate a lot with many other entities. You can see the IOC, but also some regional games organization. We have many games and many championships around the world during the year. So we need to monitor all that. I also would like to take this opportunity to thank our regional development officer, Yuri and Vincent. They are helping me a lot for these regional games. So that's a big part of our work, because we try to establish strong collaboration between these entities and us. As you can see with the International School Sports Federation, but also with the University Sport International Federation, we are making a lot of school events, and we really want to push the kids to join wrestling. So that's something important for our department. I also hope that I provide you enough information about what we did these 2 years. I'm always at your disposal if you have any questions. And I also take this opportunity to thank all my colleagues during these 2 years. It was amazing, and I'm sure that it will be the same for the next years to come. So that's conclude my presentation. I leave the floor now to my colleague Deqa Niamkey, Development Director.
Thank you, Jean-Daniel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is a great pleasure to be here today. And I will present to you the progress report of the last 2 years. So the development department is mainly under the leadership of the Continental Councils, which of course is composed by the Continental Presidents, Mr. Lalovic and Mr. Dusson. We are closely collaborating with Olympic Solidarity, the International Olympic Committee, National Olympic Committees, and national federations. In the last 2 years, we have conducted nearly 200 activities, and while helping directly 1,255 athlete coaches and referees to attend our competitions, either continental or international. As you know, 50% of the United World Wrestling income is redistributed through the Technical Assistance Program. In 2020, due to the pandemic, we have had the opportunity to finally launch the United World Wrestling Academy. Series of webinars and virtual education programs were conducted on all 5 continents in 5 languages, which reached almost 80 sessions in just 1 year. Our main areas of activity focus on the athletes, of course, but also the coaches, the referees, and in the last 2 years, we have dedicated enormous amount of work to include women in the gender equality and diversity ratio of United World Wrestling. We have a strong partnership with training centers around the world, either directly managed by United World Wrestling or in partnership with the National Olympic Committees. And as you have seen, apologies, we have also engaged with United Nations, human rights, and also health programs in collaboration with the United Nations. United Nations has also embraced the importance of sport in the development of human and social factor. So sport now is also on the agenda of the United Nations for the well-being of our planet. We also donate equipment and apparel. Nike and Souplesse, our sponsors, have donated considerable amount of apparel to the national federations, but also Taishan has dedicated 46 training mats and competition mats to our national federation. In 2017, United Wrestling introduced the prize award for any individual promoting women and grassroots programs at a national level. In 2018, we were awarded the Dubai Sports Award, what a surprise. It was an amazing achievement. And I want all of you to be very proud of yourselves, because it is thanks to you, through the cadet program of More Than Medals, that we have achieved this award. So thank you for that. Through the Continental Council presidents, in the last 2 years, in a very short amount of time, you can see through this slide the referee scholarship program. We have dedicated 50% of this program to women, and you can see immediately the results, the increased amount of women participating at the referee courses on continental level. Just here below, you can see the tremendous increase from 2018 to 2019. These are women coaches attending educational courses, and of course the referee courses. And thanks to the Women Leadership, Women in Wrestling Forum, we've organized leadership and educational program dedicated to enhance the gender gap within our sport. So the key areas for 2021, we will mainly focus to help the national federations achieve their way to Tokyo 2021. And how is that? Assisting the teams to attend the qualification tournaments through the technical assistance program. Furthermore, we will renew the referee and coaches educator courses on all 5 continents and in different languages. We have already conducted in Spanish, Russian, French, and English. Gender diversity and equality, Mr. Lalovic will later touch base on what is the plan for the next years. And of course, the introduction, thanks to the United Wrestling Bureau that has adopted the regional development tournaments. These are competition on a smaller scale, nothing to do with what Jean-Daniel has to manage on a day-to-day, but it is definitely to develop wrestling at a grassroots level. The potential regions are West, East, Central, and the South of Africa, Central and South America, Middle East and Southeast Asia, Oceania as a whole, and some nations in Europe that are still at a grassroots level when it comes to wrestling. The main, this concerns mainly schoolboys, cadet, junior, and senior only for Africa due to the lack of a high number of competitions on the continent. So this concludes my presentation. If you have any question, I'm at your disposal, and thank you for your attention. I leave now the floor to Gordon Templeman, our Marketing and Communication Director. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Gordon Templeman, the Director of Commercial and Communications for UWW. Today, I will present a recap of the past 2 years on the communications, marketing, and television activities to date. Let's start with communications. Over the past 2 years, United World Wrestling has experienced significant amount of growth across our communication platforms. As you'll see at the bottom, in total, we've increased our followers by 500,000, which is a substantial number. This is a proud achievement for the communications department, but I attribute it to many things. I attribute it to the athletes that are willing to engage and contribute to wrestling's growth, just as much as the national federations who are reaching out, sharing stories with us. But it's, in the end, it's allowing us to tell the story of wrestling and improve our voice to cover our competitions, as well as covering outside of competitions. And this is really indicated by independent reports that gauge and rank international federations and their activities across communications. In 2018 and 2019, I can proudly say that we have been within the top IFs of the Olympic movement when it comes to engaging our audience and telling the story of our sport. Specifically, across Instagram, we've certainly been a leader, and with my other IF communication colleagues, it's been expressed that Instagram is the leading platform where most IFs are communicating these days. So all of that until to 2019, and then 2020 comes around, which we had a good start to the year, but we were significantly challenged with the global pandemic. We took this as an opportunity and we challenged ourselves. How can we continue to tell the story of wrestling when there's no competitions? In the past, we were set up and geared to go from competition to competition, promoting that. But we've thought outside the box. And again, as I said, we've challenged ourselves to create new storylines and new ways to interact with the wrestling community. I highlight the We Will Wrestle Again as referenced by President Lalovic in his speech, but really as a campaign that was launched in early July to really boost the morale of the wrestling community, stay positive, working with our sponsors for a better sport, and at the same time contributing at a grassroots level. I'll show some visuals that represent other successful campaigns that we explored and created, and so proud of the team to really push themselves to come up with new, fresh ideas, which I think is leading the Olympic movement. The Stay Strong, Stay at Home campaign, which is aligned with some of the messaging of the International Olympic Committee, was a huge success across our platforms. We even looked into getting very creative and creating fantasy brackets of past legends and stars, which has done extremely well. And I would like to reference the last fantasy bracket where we pretty much went viral in Kyrgyzstan and increased our Instagram followers by 40,000 in 2 days. So just because we don't have competitions didn't mean we can slow down, and we have to come up with new creative ways. Also, working with other departments from development and sports, we've shed light on these activities, from coaching webinars and refereeing webinars, trying to work with them, make it more accessible for the wrestling community, and to get that knowledge as well. A very new launched campaign, or I would say initiative from the comms side, was the UWW Live. And that is, also what I was citing before, getting closer to the athletes. So it's a one-on-one format interview with athletes, hearing more of their story on the mat and off the mat, which has proven hugely successful. Again, just more visual representation, how we're trying to support our athletes. I think look back on some of our archival footage and pay tribute to some great achievements from the past. Since beginning in March with a kind of recalibrated comms perspective, we wanted to make sure that we were fulfilling and we were doing positive work from a comms side. So we worked with our data scientist, Iris, who also is working with the IOC around their data sets. But we've worked with them and they assessed our performance across the COVID pandemic months, and it's showing that we are performing extremely well across our platforms, delivering our message to wrestlers, but also competing highly amongst the IFs in the Olympic movement. As you see on the slide being shared. Our engagement is ranking us within the top 10. I'm proud to say today we have across all of our platforms, so whether it was the competition coverage promotion of 2018 and 19, but also thinking outside the box in 2020, we've reached a followers of 1.593 million, which I think is a testament of the growth of our community and our audience, which is an extremely positive achievement. What is next for communications? I believe it's a continuous harmony between promoting our competitions and, as John Daniel said, getting better, promoting, creating more hype around the two-day format, but as well taking the strengths that we learned during the pandemic to have a more comprehensive coverage of the sport. Moving along to marketing, I would like to shed light on a partnership that we started in 2019 with Defense Soap. The category that they represent is soap, wipes, and antibacterial skin cleansers. Within that time period, we initiated a hygiene protocol where we worked with a medical conference. Unfortunately, I think with the pandemic, it was not fully finished, but I am optimistic that we will continue a partnership with them in the future, where we can establish a complete hygiene protocol for wrestlers worldwide. Nike Wrestling, apparel and footwear, but also everyone knows international sports marketing giant, has definitely contributed, as Deqa was mentioning, providing apparel and footwear to developing countries. I think we've started our partnership with them, and we are looking to renew for another 4 years. There has been, I think, some shortcomings with the referee uniform department, but I can reassure everyone that we're working with them, pushing them, holding them accountable to provide a universal solution friendly to all of our referees, where we look uniformed and professional. Before I go on yet, to mention, I think working with them on the We Will Wrestle Again campaign was definitely a highlight with the partnership, and it was recognized in outside of the sports industry, but with recognition of creative third-party publications. Soupless, we're wrapping up our partnership, and we're looking to see if we extend. They have provided opportunity of functional equipment for national federations and provided their expertise on their system when called upon. The extension is to be confirmed. With Taishan, our mat partner, in 2019, we have agreed to extend, and we will continue till 2024, which is exciting news where we lock in a very important partner and category for the years to come. What lies next for marketing? I can conclude that a pandemic is not a positive for trying to bring in partners to contribute, whether it's through their products or through financial help that we can redistribute to development. But we look to start 2021 ambitiously, looking to diverse categories within the marketing department. Television, I'll conclude. I will make it short as I have to move along. But I think television, we have significantly increased our exposure of wrestling in worldwide with securing key partnerships. And you saw a very much increase of audience when we brought in India. So we signed a 6-year partnership with Sporty Solutions, who has worked with us to bring wrestling to homes within India and helping us develop the sport. We've extended our partnership with NTV for 1 more year, and we will look to extend within that market as well. Eurosport, we will continue to work with them in the future. I would say a big news is we've decided to end our agreement with the EBU as we assessed their performance to wrestling was not a priority, and we will approach European countries individually where we can work with broadcasters to develop wrestling and to show wrestling more. I think a very good example of a recent development is the Italian Federation has worked very well with their broadcasters in their country. So I really give them a lot of credit of starting the conversation and helping United World Wrestling bring more television coverage to wrestling in Italy. I think moving forward, a huge development, a landmark deal in the United States where we will conclude, or we have concluded, a deal for the largest digital offering in wrestling history will begin in 2021 through 2024 with Flow Sports, who its core business is streaming sports, but their biggest, I think most important asset is wrestling. So we're excited to start that partnership with them. To conclude, from 18 to 19, we increased our TV audience growth to 90%, very healthy. We're also increasing the markets that we are available to be seen on a year-to-year basis. And I would say the outlook is even brighter, as I think we will pay more attention to market, working more closely with countries and federations to hopefully provide more TV exposure, more streaming digital exposure to wrestling worldwide. And with that, I conclude my report of the last 2 years of the departments between commercial and communications. And I now pass the floor to my colleague, Sebastien Guenat, the IT director of United World Wrestling.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gordon, for your intervention. Yes, so I will start my presentation. My name is Sebastien Guenat. I'm the IT director at United Wrestling since 2010. And I will be presenting you what we have been working on in the last 2 years, and also we're hoping to achieve in the future. So give me just 1 second to show my presentation. Here it is. So first, I won't take too much time on the summary, but I wanted to share the fact that we worked like for now around 10 years on different topics. We achieved many things, I think, in the last 10 years, and mostly on the last 4 to 5 years. I will go under each point on what we achieved, what we're working on, and what is coming next. I mean, what is our vision and where we would like to go. So if we go directly to what we achieved, first, when the pandemic came, we were kind of happy that we did most of our migration already. So in 2018, we started to move all our files, everything that the UWW employees are working on, directly to a cloud platform, which is actually Office 365 and SharePoint Online. So this has been a great relief when we couldn't meet again in the office because everybody was still up and working. So we didn't lose much time, and we could focus on different things like how do we organize webinars, which ones are the best tools to be able to do it, and also to focus on different projects like, for example, the Academy platform, which is the next point. So we worked with the development department on this one pretty closely. We also did on our side Athena webinars and Arena webinars, so they are still upcoming. The Academy platform was actually a bigger project than what we thought, and the IT department got a little bit late on what we had to deliver, but hopefully we're reaching what we would like to achieve, and we're expecting it to be like fully ready very soon. But so far it's already working, and we have a lot of content, and thanks to my colleague Deqa, it's getting great and full of things. We also did the blockchain draws. So this project was very interesting because we're losing a lot of time with the draws, and it has been always suspiciously spoken of because everybody always thought somebody is cheating. This was going for years. So we were looking for a system where we could trust 100% because it's transparent and UWW is not in charge of whatever is coming up from the blockchain technology. So first, we can earn a lot of time because a blockchain draw is maybe 5 minutes top. And when we're using those tools in plastic, it was like around 30 to 35 minutes per week category, which was too long sometimes. And also, it's fully transparent. So I won't try to explain it here too much, but there is a lot of documentation on the website. We have videos to explain how we do. Basically, we're going on the financial place, taking all the last financial transaction, and this is what makes a draw. So we mix all of this in a documented way. So if you have a draw and you are not happy with it, or you think something is strange, you can go online, you can check it yourself, and you can tell us like, okay, I see that there's nothing here. Or if you want to challenge us, you can do it also. We are very happy to explain even more if it has to be. We went also to multicam replay. So for years, we were working with one cam. In the last 2 years, we started to make a new standard with 2 cams minimum. And we would like to go to 2 cams minimum on every event in 2021, meaning also on small events like Oceanian, which are not the same budgets. We would like to have at least 2 cams on every event. 4 cams is now our new standard since Paris. We would like to have this on every big event, of course. Unfortunately, in Belgrade this year, it's kind of difficult because of the travel restriction, but we were hoping to have more cameras. But anyway, in the future, it's really like what we want. Also, we're very proud about the security and stability of our services. Now, Athena is one of the main service we're using all the time. Every federation is using it. We are using it at the office to work, and it's very stable. So far, it never crashed very long, and we have been always able to work in the last 4 years. So we're very happy about that, and we're trying to keep those standards as long as possible. So now what we're working on right now. So of course, we're providing services during the events. So this year has been pretty light on that matter, but we're ready to go for 2021, and we know that people are expecting a lot. So on event, we're producing streaming, producing videos. We did almost 50,000 on YouTube in the last 4 years. We are providing the replays also, so 1, 2, 3, 4 cams, and also providing the results. So we are also working on a solution where we could provide full live results to everybody, including the press, very soon. We're working on something called single sign-on, SSO, for the ones who knows what it means. Basically, as we're producing more and more services now to fans, to people registered in the academy, to people registered to the website and everything, we're looking to a solution where we could have only one login for all the United Wrestling services. This would be like a huge improvement for us, because then we could provide you like a very easy way to log in everything, especially because we are now thinking about developing an app, and typically these kind of things would make you a single profile where you have everything included. This year we focused also a lot on Athena and Arena. For the ones who doesn't know, Arena, it's what we use. It's a software we use to produce results on events, and Athena is the software we use to manage licenses, athletes, competitions, registration, and all those things. So this year, as we didn't work too much on events, we were very focusing on making updates, especially because Arena is a 7-year-old software, so it has to be updated now. and Athena 5 years also, or of course we're doing it. And those updates will help us also to add more things. For example, in Arena, we add now beach wrestling events, grappling, pancreation. You can manage basically all the sports you want, have TV graphics, everything, and it's all free. So we're very happy about that. And also we change a little bit the competition formats. So again, if some of you in the National Federation have some IT guys who would like to work with Arena, but the competition format are not exactly the same, we would be happy to speak with them and see if we can help them to help us to develop Arena and make it perfect for everybody. Athena is the same. I will speak a little bit about it later because there is something interesting about it. The zero paper competitions, we would like very much to have in 2021, 2022, something without paper anymore. We were printing like thousands of pages.
Areas. One of the major improvements in terms of governance is the results of the third review of the ASOIF review of international federations governance. This review has assessed 5 areas of the governance of every international federations, which are transparency, integrity, democracy, development and solidarity, and checks and balance and controlling, which is the financial side. So we are proud to be now in the top, among the top 2 IFs in terms of government scores after this review. We're in the same group as FIBA, as World Athletics, etc. So this is a good achievement. So how did we achieve that? So we have made a lot of changes or proposals. One of them, I think, it's the major one. It's the introduction of term limits that has been approved by the Bureau. The age limit for the Bureau members will be, if this is approved by the Congress, 75, and for the President, a maximum 2 terms of 6 years. So again, this is only approved by the Bureau, but it must be submitted to the Congress for approval. So in terms of other improvements, we have introduced several policies and guidelines. For example, the policy for candidates and campaigning for elected position. We made a new policy and guidelines on sustainability for organizers. There's now a way to report integrity breaches. There is also a new policy to safeguard athletes from abuse and harassment. And finally, the guidelines for the recognition of third-party events. I will come on that on the next slides. So also, oh, here's Sebastien back, okay. Also, we have put more detailed and transparent information on the website on the various aspects, such as finance, structure of the organization, functioning, disciplinary matters, all the decisions on the website, biographies in terms of elected members. So we've made a big effort to put more information on the website. Now, quickly on the legal and disciplinary questions. From January 2019 up to today, we had 13 disciplinary cases that have been prosecuted and referred to the disciplinary chamber. In the same period between 2017 and 2018, we had twice this number. Of course, this is due to the fact that this year we had no competitions. These violations concern mainly assaults or impropriety against referees or opponents, and a few breaches to the code of conduct. So 7 athletes were sanctioned and 6 coaches during this 2 years period. On the legal affairs side, you have probably come across this matter we had with the Ringerliga in Germany, which is a non-recognized league in that country. The decision before the courts in Germany are still pending, but this was a big case that took a lot of time. But what's positive, let's say, in that is that we were able to draft some guidelines for the recognition of third-party events. And this was part of one of the indicator of the ASOIF governance review. So we were prepared for that question. And also the department in collaboration with the commission, legal commission, worked on the new draft of the constitution that will be proposed for the Congress, and also the draft and amendments to the rules and regulations. On the anti-doping aspect, you know that from 1st January 2019, UWW signed an agreement with ITA to run its anti-doping program. So just a few figures here. Last year, we've made 744 in-competition tests and 235 out-of-competition tests. The figure that you see, it's 269 attempts. That's the attempts that have been made out of competition, but the athlete wasn't present at that moment. So the effective number is 235 out of competition tests for 2019. And then this year, of course, without competition, we were able only to test 205 times during the competition in the beginning of the year. And we are so far with 209 tests. I think the figures have increased a little bit these last days and weeks. Finally, on the anti-doping rules violation, we had 17 violations in 2019 and 5 this year. These are the figures of the United World Wrestling test. It doesn't take into account all the tests that are made by other organizations in wrestling around the world. Very quickly, therapeutic use exemptions. Here are some figures for you to know. One thing is important, I think, is education. We have a few programs in place. We try to make as much as possible some outreach program to athletes during our events. We have started more and more to use the e-learning platforms that are available, and this will continue more and more next year, because there are new standards by WADA that will enter in force. So we will ask all federations and athletes a greater effort to learn about their rights and obligation on anti-doping. Of course, we continue with some trainings during the modern medal camps, and we have also in the UWW Academy some material for everyone on this topic. Very quickly, but some more information will be provided to all federations about the entry in force of the new World Anti-Doping Code and the UWW anti-doping rules, which enter in force on 1st of January next year. There are many technical change, I would say, in the new World Anti-Doping Code. I've listed here a few examples. One of them is on the second bullet point here, is the introduction of a new, let's say, a new type of substances which are now defined as substances of abuse, which are, for example, those that we call recreational drugs like cocaine or cannabis. So for these substances with the new code, there can be some reduced sanction only if an athlete can prove that the consumption was out of competition and that there was no relation to a competition. One other thing, the Bureau approved also to agree, well, on an agreement with the Court of Arbitration for Sport Anti-Doping Division, which will take care of all the cases, the violations that happen. They will take care of the hearings when they are requested. And as I said, new international standard for education. So again, we will communicate on that and ask more efforts from everyone on this important topic of education in the anti-doping topic. And finally, quickly, the medical area of activity of this department. Of course, the normal work of this in this area is the assignments of doctors during our competitions and the surveillance of the injury monitoring during our competitions. As it was already mentioned by Ms. Lalovic and also in the video, in 2019 we had the World Wrestling Medicine Conference, which was a big success with many participants from many countries. We hope that we can renew this this conference over the next years and make it a big rendezvous for all the federations. And the Medical Commission had also its meeting during this medicine conference, and several topics discussed during that meeting. For example, anti-doping, specific risks and injuries in beach wrestling, dangerous holds and moves, etc. So there are some studies and researches that are pending, but the work, I can say that the work of this commission is great, and the members are really involved in its functioning. So that concludes my presentation on General Affairs Department. As it was said, anyone who wants to have further information can contact us in writing, and we'll provide information as soon as possible. So we will move on now, and I'll leave the floor to Mr. Lalovic, who will say a few words on the areas of focus for the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. I would like to thank our colleagues from the office who have prepared these presentations. I hope that gives an image of what has been achieved, and now we are going to speak about the future. And today I would like to give an introduction to the new strategy for 21-26. So, why do we actually need a plan? Why do we need a strategy? Well, at least 4 important reasons. First of all, it clarifies our vision and mission, which is very important. Having a strategy helps us to steer us in the right direction. It creates a clear focus. And last but not least, having a strategic plan sends a strong signal to our partners. So, what we have been doing so far? You may recall that earlier this year, we've asked all of you for your contribution by filling out a survey. We are delighted with the good feedback and ideas you provided us with. For this, I want to express our gratitude to all who have contributed, NFs, wrestlers, coaches, and United World Wrestling leaders. Based on your inputs, we have been able to identify 5 areas on which we need to focus on in the strategic plan. Let's take a quick look of these 5. First, youth engagement. We are aware that we need to prepare wrestling for the future. Therefore, we need to have an even stronger focus on engaging more with young people. Second, women's wrestling. We want to take our dedication to women's wrestling to a higher level. We want to focus even more on the creation of an optimal environment in which we strive for full gender inclusivity in UWW. Third, our styles of wrestling. United World Wrestling embraces many different styles of wrestling, not only the Olympic style. We need to utilize this unique opportunity we have by synergizing all styles within the global wrestling family. Fourth, the image of wrestling. Wrestling is a beautiful sport and something we are very proud of. But we need to be better at showcasing and bringing our messages about our sport to the rest of the world. We will work on to create a more powerful perception about our sport. And finally, something we call a digitalized ecosystem. We have learned during this year how much we can get done on an international level, even by only being virtually connected. We need to be even more without that, and we want to reinforce a digitalization process in wrestling worldwide. But I would like to add something else. All this is in order to prepare for the living in the post-corona world. What we are living today is one situation. Soon we'll be in another situation. And how will look like the post-corona world? But we don't know, but we have to be prepared. We have to take and find our way ahead. And this way ahead will be certainly based on solidarity, credibility, sustainability, having in mind the economic impact that every one of you will live, that the sport will live globally. I would not say afraid, but concerned what will be the future for all the sports. For that, we have all together, with other sports even, to create an atmosphere of utility of sport for healthier living and for the stronger oppositions to different diseases. This time it's COVID-19. Maybe soon we'll have something else. What we have learned already, we did it in 2013, that we have to, and we are able to turn the challenges that we face into opportunities. This is the story. If we are able to do that, we won't face problems. Or we'll face problems that we can solve. And the problem that can be solved is not really a problem then. But for that, we need the preparation and we need plans that we can adapt in every situation. We did it this year, but we can be stronger even in that area. So what will happen next? It is extremely important for us to hear your voice. If you have any input and ideas which you think should be included within our strategy, you can send your ideas to our external partner in any language. You see the email address here, and which will also be sent to you. Please share your ideas with us. It is very valuable in the development of the plan. We will then use the months of March and April to formulate the strategy in detail. And we will then present the final version of our strategic plan 21-26 to all of you during the Congress, most probably in May. This is going to be a very exciting project, and once again, I encourage you all to send us your ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, President. So before answering any question and closing this conference, we would like to give some information and updates about the calendar. President, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carlos. I want to say a few words about the calendar review and to update you on the recent decisions of the Bureau that was held here in Belgrade yesterday, a hybrid one, partially virtually and on site with our colleagues who are also in this hall, that I again thank you for all the work they have done, the executive board members, the Bureau members, continental presidents. A huge work was delivered for the benefit of our sport. I want to say first that we have discussed yesterday the possibility for eventual adaptations to the development of the disease in the beginning of next year. You all know that we have qualifying tournaments leading our athletes in a fair way to Tokyo. We cannot afford to choose or elect athletes going to Tokyo, elected or chosen on a meeting in a room. That's not possible. That has to be done on the field of play. And there is no alternative to that. If we want to be a fair organization, then we have to provide those conditions to our athletes because we owe only to our athletes and nobody else. We are here to provide them those conditions. All we do is for that. It is very possible, and we have negotiated already with different organizers. We are also aware of the organizers having a lot of problems to organize in their respective countries due to governmental restrictions, due to imposed sanitary conditions, which are sometimes impossible to respect and very uncomfortable to respect for our athletes. So we will be very, adaptive to those who can or cannot organize. Different proposals have been made to postpone the Continental Championships in May. We understand the value of the Continental Championships. And they are also conditional for the Oslo World Championships later in September, October, September, end of September. But we also understand very well that the main focus for all national federations are the Olympic Games and the Olympic qualifiers. I'm very grateful to the work of the technical commissions and all my colleagues for the board for yesterday's discussions. We have the president of the technical commission, Mr. Mamiashvili, here on site in Belgrade, who will conduct a survey, speaking with the coaches, speaking with national federations, what is the most suitable. We will find a solution good for everyone. But we will also want to have a comfortable solution for the national federations financially. We want to have the most possible solution comfortable for the preparation of the athletes for the Olympic Games, because we understand very well what is their goal, and is to have, of course, an Olympic medal. So the Bureau will meet again in a week after the survey has been done, after the discussion within the technical commission is going to be done. And then we'll come back to you very, very soon, because we understand very well that we have to announce to you the program, because you have to make plans for the preparation of your athletes for different competitions, to create your own strategy, and to be very, very well prepared for the Olympic Games in Tokyo. And the Olympic movement also changed. Today, it's very important how the games and the sport will be performed and followed during the games, more than before. Today, that can be easily measurable. What is the value of each sport individually as a sport? Not globally, the summer games, but by sport also. That will define the position of different sports in the future within the Olympic movement. You've seen that on communications, we are the 7th sport out of 35. You remember very well where we have been in 2013, even in 2016. A huge improvement. And this is very important. Then I have to update all the national federations that according to the decisions of the IOC, who postponed the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, still keeping the name of Tokyo 2020, but to be held in 21, all the rules have been frozen. At that moment, we have made a decision that nationality changes won't be allowed in 20 until the 1st of January 21. But everyone understood that you cannot stop the clock or the time. This is not possible. So the rules of the IOC are more strict than our rules. We gave more freedom for athletes to change nationality and to compete if the two national federations agrees. Now, I would say the IOC also took that in consideration, that one more year elapsed may give some opportunities to some athletes who have changed their decision and didn't took part for the previous country or national federations or NOC, may be eligible for the Olympic Games in Tokyo in 21, still with the name Tokyo 20. So, this is why we decided yesterday to allow, if respective NOCs and national federations agree on nationality changes, and according to the Olympic Charter, have not taken part for their previous country for 3 years and having a passport of the new country, they may take part in qualifiers in 21 and eventually qualified in the games in July. This is for your information. So we extended the deadline for 15 days because we had to announce it at least the 1st of December. But as we had a meeting yesterday, the deadline will be extended to the 15th of January for those nationality changes, for those who are interested in eventually take part, but still you have to have in mind that this is still 3 years on the games and valid passport of the new country, also agreements of the NOCs and national federations. So, I repeat once again, if the new country delivers a passport and the athlete didn't take part for the previous country for 3 years, 3 years, huh? Then they can take part in our qualifying events in order to eventually qualify. Last April, May, we took a different decision that all the changes will be frozen when it is about the Olympic Games, but we don't stop the nationality usual changes that we do as a federation, but now just being more precise about the qualifications and the participation on the Olympic Games. But there must be fulfilled the conditions imposed by the IOC and the Olympic Charter. So this is about the calendar, except that I want to say that we have the World Championships are assigned until 23, that we have already one bid arrived from Serbia for the World Championships 24, that this is very important, that we have a lot of interest from 4 more countries for the World Championships 23, excuse me. It is about 23. And then you can see on your screen which championships are not still assigned, and that you have the possibility to submit your candidacies until May 21 for the following championships in 23 and 24. So, I believe that this was clear. If you need any clarifications, of course, you can contact the international federations. You will have all the details and about what I just said. I would like now to open the floor to questions, because I don't know if we have questions that have arrived.
We can already take questions from the floor here, if there are anyone.
I would like to take questions from the floor of the participants present in this hall. Are there some questions, dear friends and colleagues? No? Yes? Canada?
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, congratulations on all of the very good work that's been done in this period. It's clear that we've stayed busy, so congratulations to you and your staff. I would just like to get 2 small questions. One, I noticed on the calendar that there's a 2024 Senior World Championship in the Olympic year, so I just wanted to clarify if that is the case. And the other was around disciplinary procedures for athletes and coaches. Are those results shared and published somewhere on the website? We're just asking because if an athlete or a coach moves to a new country, we can be aware if there's any issues with that athlete or coach. Thank you.
I thank you for your questions, Mr. O'Callaghan. I would like to say that I maybe made a mistake by saying in my previous discussion about the calendar 23 and 24, there is normally no World Championships in 24. We have done it this time. We were not really willing to cancel the World Championship that was already assigned to Norway, Oslo. And this is why we keep it. Because later it's obvious that we have organizers and we have a lot of interest. I don't know what will happen in 24. Maybe this Oslo Championship will be very successful. And then maybe we'll come to a conclusion that we can have the World Championship, even the Olympic year. But if we decide that, we have to take in consideration that all the Olympic sports have to be focused, that in the Olympic year, the Olympic Games are the main event. So even if we will have a World Championship, it has to be always much later than the Olympic Games. So we don't have the right to harm in any way the Olympic Games. And we all know that this is the top achievement for every one of our athletes. It's the Olympic Games, Olympic medal. That's the top, and we will respect that. The other question about, we have here the president of the Legal Commission, And we have Carlos for general affairs. I believe that all the sanctions are published. And which section, Carlos, please clarify?
If you mean the disciplinary sanctions, they are on the disciplinary section. And of course, when the sanction or the suspension is ended, obviously the name and the violation is retired. So we have a section there. And there's also a section for the anti-doping violations, which is also available on the anti-doping section. So if there is no other question here on the floor.
It seems not. Sorry. It seems there are no other questions, no?
We have received a few questions here. We have one question asking about the validity of license of 2020 license for athletes, coaches, and referees to continue next year in 2021 when there wasn't used. I think there's a communication that was sent on that topic already, but we can.
Please repeat the information, Carlos, about this.
Well, the Bureau adopted the fact that all the licenses that were bought in 2020 and that haven't been used will be valid for next year. So, yeah, any questions of these types on the licenses, but also changes of nationality, we will communicate on that, and we can also answer all questions in writing. Maybe if we have some more questions focused on the next year. I'm just watching.
I would just like to add to this topic and to these questions that the Bureau had in mind that most of the competitions were canceled this year, and we have to find a way to help the national federations financially. We understand very well that they are living a huge economical impact on their finances, and this is why that we extended the validity of all the licenses bought in 20 to be valid through 21. Of course, the licenses that have not been bought in 20, they have to be bought for 21, of course. But those who, and also we started how to say, the announcements for acquiring the licenses for 21 much earlier, in order that federations don't have to buy the licenses for this competition here, that they could have done it much before. So, and they are valid through 21.
I think there's another question, maybe more, and we'll take questions that are more focused on the next year and the competitions and the pandemic. We have Australia asking, Australian government extended travel bans until mid-March 2021, which makes it hard, which makes it hard for our athletes to leave the country for Africa and Oceania qualifying events. Will there be an alternative qualification for countries facing similar problems? Would there be a possibility of having Oceania qualifications separate from African qualifications?
I would say that we will have all these problems that national federations are facing in consideration. Who can say today what will be the situation in Australia in March? The situation of the pandemic will certainly change in between hemispheres, north and south, with different part of the year. So when the northern hemisphere goes down with infection, then the southern one goes up. And that's what we already saw. This is the experience that we already have. As you know, the Oceania Championship will be together with the African one. We are also negotiating maybe to postpone for a few weeks. But I do believe that the governments for such event should go through their NOCs and to explain the problem when it is about Australia. Every country on one continent has different, but you know, there is no sport events in Serbia, but we have one. You have to fight also. You have to explain what's going on. You, Carlos, for example, you are Swiss. Serbia is on the red list in Switzerland, but Carlos is here. And he will come back home without problem. Mr. Dittmann, the same. Germany is locked down, but there is a possibility to come if you explain exactly the purpose of your travel. And I do believe that in the Olympic year, the authorities will have a lot of comprehension on that topic.
There's just one precision, and it's maybe my fault, because on the validity of licenses, obviously the decision was to make them valid, of course, for next year. So there's no change on the principle, but on the technical side, it's difficult with our system, Athena, etc., to let's say extend the validity. So the solution that we found was really to only credit the amount of the licenses, unused licenses of 2020 on the accounts of the Federation to buy new licenses for 2021. So sorry about this mistake, but
yes, this is a technical issue.
The principle remains the same, really. It's those unused. Yeah, the communication was already made on that, so I won't take too much time on this. There was one question about beach wrestling, because we talked about this. There's a question saying, is women beach wrestling being proposed for the LA 2028 games? I don't know if you have any.
The program of the LA Games, it's not even close to be defined. That will be done in 25. So, in the meantime, we have to fight that beach wrestling would be included in that program as an additional discipline. What will happen today, I'm not a prophet. I will try to, but I do believe that we are strong enough that we can achieve that goal and to achieve especially the gender equality. And in 26, exactly, we will showcase that sport on Youth Olympic Games in the same way we showcased it in Enoch Beach Games, being the most successful discipline on beach games together with beach volley. The most attended sport with beach volley was beach wrestling. And you had 17 beach sports. We were among the two best of them. So I do believe that we have great chances. We have the reason, it's to achieve the gender equality, and we deliver something that it is very interesting, very fast, and spectacular. I cannot say more about it.
President, I think there are many questions coming, but about the decisions that will be made next week, and also the decisions that were made on the nationalities yesterday. So we will communicate on that.
Yes.
Maybe the questions today were more focused on, I think, on next year qualifying events, Olympic Games, etc. So I think if you
okay, I will clarify that once again. The technical commission presided by Mr. Mamiashvili is working very hard at this moment, preparing the proposals to the Bureau for the next Tuesday, having in mind specific situations of the preparation of the athletes, which is the main problem of all national federations, in order to compete on qualifying events, continental championships, and of course on Olympic Games. So you will have news about it by the end of next week. So in order to prepare your strategy and the way you will define your preparations. So I think that the questions are, we don't have any more questions. In that case, I would like to thank you all. I would like to thank you for making the effort to come in Belgrade. I would like you to, having attended this conference, it is not a real Congress. You understand why. There is no Congress without a huge participation, which is our will and goal. And I'm very happy that we finally have a big competition. I have to tell you that this is probably the biggest competition in whole since the pandemic started. Globally, probably the biggest with 505 athletes in 51 countries. I never heard that any other sport had such a big competition during the pandemic. I have to report also that on the sanitary situation, we had one positive athlete who arrived here in Serbia, which is fantastic for the moment, but I'm not yet going to be proud because we will be probably proud when we finish the competition. And then we can smile. But now we still have all here on site to be focused on the good execution of this competition and sending back our athletes home healthy. So thank you very much to all of you. And I hope that we will meet soon. Be healthy. I wish you nice end of the year festivities, depending of your religion, of your calendar that you are respecting. All the calendars are not the same also. And and to all of you, no matter the color of your eyes. Thank you very much and Happy New Year.